Bitcoin number go up. Welcome to another episode of Macro Crypto, where each and every Monday we show off our conviction for Bitcoin, give you a market analysis on where Bitcoin is trending because everything else is sure to follow. The more you understand about Bitcoin, the more knowledge you have, the better off your crypto portfolio will be. So especially if you're new to the crypto space, I can't advocate enough to learn as much as you can about Bitcoin, DCA your way in, and even if you don't want to invest in Bitcoin, knowledge is power. So with that being said, if you do enjoy the content, give us a like, subscribe, head over to that Twitter page at Macro Crypto Club. Like always, link will be down in the description, and none of this is financial advice. We're always here for just pure entertainment. So with all this being said, let's dive into today's content, checking out the weekly Heikin Ashi Candles through the eyes of Bitcoin. We've closed with another green candle, and if you don't know, we have pushed through that bull market support band. We're above 47K. Let's fucking go. So much excitement within the market, myself included. I'm enthusiastic about this because guess what? Portfolio is increasing. We'll show that off at the end of this video, of course, our DCA into Bitcoin, but ultimately Bitcoin going up, everything else is showing off as well. So what we do want to see is basically an understanding where we can trend from here. What we don't want to happen is the rest of this week off, we don't want to see this close below that bull market support band becoming a bear market support band, because that means we will get rejected off of it and then probably within the coming weeks capitulate down and see kind of test these lows and probably set new lows within this cycle currently, or this bear cycle. But what we do want to see is this bear turn bullish and stay bullish, and we stay above that bull market support band and ultimately start rising over the coming weeks. Now, once we get to that point, obviously there's two ways forward, either up or down. Duh, right? But reason why we go over this is because more time than not, we will see coming back down to test that bull market support band. You saw it here once we broke through. We retested it before setting new all-time highs. But there has been cases back in 2019 where once we broke through the bull market support band, we didn't retest again for like 6 months. So is there a chance that we just keep setting week after week, just keep increasing and trending in a bullish trend? Yes, very much so. But majority, more likely than not, this is the reaction you should expect is in the coming weeks, we continue trending up and then eventually retesting that bull market support band. Now, where we go from there is going to be vitally important. If we do retest it, obviously we break below it, we're back to Goblin Town. Not a good sign. A lot of depression within the market, that's guaranteed. But if we do hit that bull market support band and we bounce off in a positive direction, new all-time highs are coming in 2022. So those are some possible outcomes within the market. We're just kind of helping you set up your portfolio. Obviously, option A, just going and never retesting, would be the easiest and less strenuous action within this, but eventually it always will come back and at least test this bull market support band. So when it does, that's where momentum buyers come into play. Okay, we always have speculative buyers or momentum buyers. We're all probably speculative buyers unless you have a bunch of capital waiting on the sideline and waiting for that bounce off. And if that bounce off happens, game time. So with all this being said, let's check out some news within the market. Basically, some more bullish news by Dylan Leclerc, giving us a little market analysis through Pompliano, understanding how much of the Bitcoin supply has been last active over a year ago. So as you can tell, the last time we've been in this high of a supply that hasn't moved for over a year plus was back in September of 2020, which obviously created a massive bullish case and rising to new all-time highs. We saw this case when it was over 60% before we just peaked out. Seen this before when it was previously a new all-time high. peaking out in price. And then as you can tell, when these values dip, then we start to capitulate down. Dip, capitulate down, down. So we're back at these levels. Can we increase this and really drive this price up? Only time will tell, but at least this is a very bullish case for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto space, of course. Heading over to the daily hodl, giving you a little information that we all probably are very aware of. Terra Luna, the co-founder, reveals a massive 3 billion Bitcoin purchase is already underway, with speculation that it will round out to being 10 billion down the line, making the stablecoin backed by Bitcoin. Holy shit. Come on. It's the only asset with a calcified and hard code base and much better distributed than any other digital asset. So it makes sense to think about using Bitcoin as a hard currency. This is the CEO for Terra Luna discussing why they decided to use Bitcoin. The basic schema is very simple. We're exploring a number of bridges that will be able to move Bitcoin into Terra in a trustless, non-wrap fashion. And let's assume that Bitcoin is available in a tokenized form on Terra, which are with the mechanics thereof still being researched. In that case, what we would do is we would put it into a smart contract where people can trade in UST, which is the native token on Terra Luna, to get roughly $1 worth of Bitcoin. So let's say minus 1% off, a minus 2% off, and people can mint UST by trading in Bitcoin against the reserve at par value. So at any given time, you can trade in $1 worth of tokenized Bitcoin on Terra and then get 1 UST. And then you can trade in 1 UST for slightly less than $1 worth of Bitcoin. So guess what? It's basically becoming a reserve currency, and the individual that discussed this back in 2010 predicted this was potentially a candidate for Satoshi Nakamoto, Hal Finney. Over here on the Bitcoin Talk, let's go ahead and read out his post here. Actually, there is a very good reason for Bitcoin-backed banks to exist, issuing their own digital cash currency redeemable for Bitcoins. Bitcoin itself cannot scale to have every single financial transaction in the world be broadcast to everyone and include in the blockchain. There needs to be a secondary level of payment systems, which is lighter weight and more efficient. Likewise, the time needed for Bitcoin transactions to finalize will be impractical for medium to large value purchases. Bitcoin-backed banks will solve these problems. They can work like banks did before nationalization of currency. Different banks can have different policies, some more aggressive, some more conservative. Some would be fractional reserves, while others would be 100% Bitcoin backed. Interest rates may vary. Cash from some banks may trade at a discount to that from others. I believe this is the ultimate fate of Bitcoin, to be a high-powered money that serves as a reserve currency for banks that issue their own digital cash. Most Bitcoin transactions will occur between banks to settle net transfers. Bitcoin transactions by private individuals will be rare as well as Bitcoin-based purchases are today. This was done in December 30th in 2010. Hal Finney predicting where we potentially are, not saying that also Terra Luna is a bank, but obviously using it as a reserve currency and issuing it as such is exactly what was stated on that Bitcoin Talk from Hal Finney. A little further information about Hal Finney: was part of the first transaction that happened 13 years ago, not 12, because this article was done in 2021, but 13 years ago. Hal Finney received the first transaction, I think it was 10 Bitcoin, from Satoshi Nakamoto, even proving further potentially that this individual is truly Satoshi Nakamoto. Also, well before his time, this is January 27, 2009, thinking about how to reduce CO2 emissions from a widespread Bitcoin implementation. Holy shit. Come on. One of the hot topic buttons surrounding Bitcoin is making Bitcoin sustainable, especially so much energy consumption. So Hal Finney predicting this, trying to figure out ways to reduce that CO2 emission with widespread Bitcoin adoption. And what are we seeing today? Widespread adoption and individuals looking for ways to make it more sustainable. Just mind blowing. Also, some talk around Hal Finney, some things that he's discussed before. Here we are faced with problems of loss of privacy, creeping computerization, massive databases, more centralization. The Tron offers a completely different direction to go in, one which powers in the hands of individuals rather than governments and corporations. The computer can be used as a tool to liberate and protect people rather than to control them. This was also a quote from Hal Finney back in 1992 in a Cypherpunks email. If you don't know what Cypherpunks is, guess what? An NFT in today's day and age is paying homage to the original Cypherpunks, CryptoPunks. A little bit of a knowledge drop there. Also, wanted to kind of throw this out there as well. Dorian Satoshi Nakamoto, pictured here, was once widely considered Satoshi Nakamoto. So happens. Not even close. But what is unique about Dorian Satoshi Nakamoto, only lived a few blocks away from Hal Finney. Hal Finney had knowledge of Dorian Satoshi Nakamoto. Was he the individual, Hal Finney, creator of Bitcoin, using the pseudonymous name Satoshi Nakamoto from a friend within the neighborhood? Just throwing it out there. Obviously, we will never know because the late Hal Finney passed away of ALS back in 2014. So all of us out in crypto land and through the eyes of Bitcoin, thank you for everything that you put into this world, and just that has to be said. Now, of course, lastly, we do jump over to our DCA talk surrounding Bitcoin. If you have yet to follow us, we do this both weekly and monthly. As you can tell, we already put our monthly $100 into Bitcoin. We do it at the first Monday of every month. And then that is currently sitting above 700,000 Satoshis. And we did just recently put $100 in today, and which got us over 200 million Satoshis, or 200,000. Jeez, that's embarrassing. 200,000 Satoshis. But with that being said, you can also know that we currently have almost 3 million Satoshis stacked during that time, with the new price of just over 47,000. Right now, our weekly stacking of sats is at a profit of $193, while if you're stacking monthly with $100, your profit is currently $41.77. So this way you can continue tracking with us. I hope that you gained some knowledge today, deeper understanding of what Bitcoin is, where we are tracking in regards to Bitcoin, and why it is so important to make it a part of your portfolio. Until next time, everybody. Peace, y'all.